Albany Pine Bush Preserve, which is local to us. However, this method could be applied to other geographic areas for teachers in other areas. Our unit consists of presenting background knowledge to students, guided independent research, lab work, and a site visit to the pine bush. Each step will lead students to a deeper understanding of this driving question, and then they will synthesize their learning into a project to be shared with the broader community. For us, the advantages of a project-based learning unit is that students are getting the same content knowledge, but along the way they can practice important science skills such as inquiry, research, and communication. Also, there's a lot more chance for students to gain a personal experience and connect it with their own lives and hopefully have a lasting experience because of that. These are some of the qualities that we felt were important in a PBL project. The first Goldilocks approach, we explained it a little deeper on our website, but essentially it was a method of helping students find an inquiry question that they could research within the timeline of the project that was deep enough to be a meaningful exercise, but not too abstract that they would just be lost and not be able to really reach a conclusion in a time span. There's some questions that I think it's great that students kind of might follow their whole lives, but we also have to be realistic of what they can accomplish with all the things we have to get through in our curriculum. Other than that, PBL relies on personal connections and authenticity that help students connect to the material in a personal and hopefully lasting way. And I'll hand it over to Danielle for a couple slides.
All right. And so I created a PowerPoint presentation for any teacher to use to just introduce the concept of biodiversity. We didn't want to instruct too much. We felt that part of the reason for this kind of an assignment isn't for us to stand up there and teach them everything they need to know, but we did feel that it would be nice to give them an idea of what the big picture of what biodiversity is. They need to understand why it's important, and then
Ashley, can you put off your mic when Danielle's speaking? We're getting some feedback there. Thanks.
I also included a couple of slides on there for some biodiversity that's lost, for some animals that have gone extinct. And this has happened, within the last 10 or 20 years, some mammals and amphibians. And I think that it's pretty powerful for us to see something, to see an animal that the last date it was ever seen and it's never been seen again, to see something that's gone extinct. And part of what we liked about the Albany Pine Bush Preserve is there's a special butterfly called the Turner blue butterfly. It's been written about in books. Edward Wilson has written about it in some of his books. He's a famous naturalist. And this butterfly probably would be extinct if it weren't for conservation efforts at the Albany Pine Bush Preserve. I mean, it is found in other parts of the country in similar habitats. In all parts of the country, this animal is facing extinction. But at this point, it's surviving, but not by a lot. And let me turn my slide. So, okay, here we're on the Carter. Thank you for turning the slide, Ashley. Listed as federally endangered in 1980. So, I have one more. Sorry, I'm trying to find my other slide that I wanted that connects. It's in order. Okay, so this is just another kind of part that I think is what makes the problem real, is that there is this constant problem for diversity that is just facing this decline all over the world, and including our, locally with the Pine Bush Preserve. And So it's important for students to understand this, and then, you know, hopefully they can understand it, and then with their own reasons as to why it's worth saving and how we can save it. And that was basically what we would go over at the beginning, and, you know, and I think the next slide is Ashley's, although it might not be in order. Let me see.
Yep. This slide delves a little bit deeper into each of those steps I was talking about. I think the important thing is to note that each step has opportunities for formative assessment. I think one of the great things about project-based learning is students get a chance to kind of stumble along the way, and I think that's really important for growth. So we wanted to make sure we had a lot of chances for quick and meaningful feedback so that stumble doesn't turn into failure overall. So we can get in there and make sure that they're headed on the right track. These were a couple of things that we had suggested for formative assessment. One was using kind of instant communication with Google Docs. So as students are submitting things, the teacher can see real time what they're working on and give them feedback right away. We also wanted students to talk to each other, pretty similar to what we do, giving each other feedback through online chats. I think gives a lot of chance for students to reflect, and sometimes is a more meaningful conversation than you might get in person, because some people, it takes them a little bit more time to formulate their thoughts. They might feel shy in class. Oops. We got lost again. All right.
So when another aspect before we did any kind of a field trip to the Pine Bush or other, we thought it would be important for students to kind of practice and discover what biodiversity exists in their schoolyard. And this would, you know, it would be better at kind of doing the field work, you know, making the observations and trying to describe what they're seeing. I kind of just put up the chart that I have in my lesson plan.
Yeah, your voice is chopping up a bit, Danielle. Why don't you try turning that on and off again?
Oh, any better?
Yeah, I think so. Keep.
Okay, I'm on vacation and I left my microphone at home.
Okay, so you're using your laptop mic, yeah. Okay.
In the schoolyard. So understanding of the root level that exists right outside their door. So and the photo that we said was the Albany Pine Bush Preserve, which I know we're just about out of time. It's a pretty unique habitat that's not anything like the areas around it, and it has species that aren't in the area because its habitat is so unique. So I think that's kind of what makes it special. And I will turn the last slide over to Ashley.
This slide is just a snapshot of the overall rubric that we developed. So in addition to the formative assessment, we definitely wanted some summative assessment for the final project. And our final project was after students had done their own research, they had done some lab work at the school, they had gotten a chance to go to the site perhaps do some more lab work there, take some pictures, interview. They're supposed to take all of that information that they've learned, reflect back on that driving question, and then come up with some project they could share with the community that would show some of what they've learned. And the idea would be for us to have that available to the public. We would love if there could be a day where they could actually share at the site. If there are multiple schools involved in this project, they might that day be able to see what students in other areas had worked on as well. But ultimately, that those resources would be made available online, linked from the Pine Bush page, so students know that their work is really out there, really visible, and making an impact. We would want to share this rubric with students at the outset to set clear expectations, and those were kind of the things that we thought that were important, that they're still reaching those same concepts, they're able to communicate their ideas, they've shown that they have valid research, and then just kind of some teamwork and collaboration skills. And I know we're running just about time, and I think that's our last slide, so I'll wrap it up.
Actually, that's perfect timing, and I didn't have to do the dance, which I didn't really want to have on tape. We have about a minute or two from questions from the audience. You could either type in the chat or open your mic and ask a question. I think maybe you've left them speechless. Have any of you been to the Pine Bush Preserve? It's in the Capital District. Just type in the chat whether you've been there or not. Okay, Daniel, no. Okay, oh yeah, Steve has. Okay, it's a very interesting location. It's not far from the Capitol itself. So if you're going there, hopefully these ladies have given you some inspiration, something you can bring your family along with, or you could bring schools to. Yeah, it has a whole discovery center too. So Ashley, you want to say something there?
It's really a unique environment. Honestly, this was kind of Danielle's initial research project, and even though it's a local resource, I didn't know a whole lot about it. But the cornered blue butterfly, it's pretty much the only major population of that left. Most of the other ones that are around are pretty dwindled and on their way to extinction. But it's when the last ice ages came, they left a very sandy, unique environment that has the right plant for them. And in the conservation world, that little blue butterfly is somewhat of a rock star. Like Danielle said, it's mentioned in some pretty major texts by E.O. Wilson, who's a very famous two-time Pulitzer-winning scientist. So it's kind of neat that it's in our backyard.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I would clap, but I want to close down this recording and start another one.